a single drop of water in your hand. Now imagine dropping it into the middle of the ocean. And then if you say, I want that one drop of water that was on my palm, the RAS has the ability to search the entire ocean and find that single drop of water. Hello, this is Atomy Bro. You will succeed. That's because you desperately wanted to. Today, I want to share some insights from Alan Pease and Barbara Pease, the definitive book of body language. Specifically, a very simple success habit. You can start right away along with my own thoughts. The author concisely and clearly tells us what to do to achieve our goals. But first, there is an important concept we need to understand. The RAS, Reticular Activating System, a neural network in the brain. This RAS plays the most crucial role in changing your subconscious and ultimately transforming your life. The RAS can be described as an incredibly sophisticated filter and search engine. The authors use an even more interesting analogy. They call it the brain's goalkeeper. For example, imagine you are at an airport. We don't consciously realize it, but we are exposed to an immense amount of sound and sight, a vast amount of information. If we were to perceive all of it, our brains might panic and stop functioning. But at the moment, it's the RAA's job to decide what information to filter out and what to perceive. Even when you are surrounded by airport announcements and the noise of countless people, you accurately pick up your name if it is called somewhere. This is all thanks to the RAAs. Our brain processes over 400 million bits of information per second, but only a tiny 0.005%, 2000 bits, enters our consciousness. The remaining 99.9% of information we don't even know is coming in. This is so we don't get overwhelmed and collapse under the weight of this innumerous information. Let's look at another examples. You've probably had experience where once you decided to buy a specific car model, you suddenly started seeing that car everywhere on the road. If you spend days considering getting a bob haircut, you might notice bob-haired women everywhere. But once your interest fades, those cars, models, and bob-haired people disappear from the roads and streets, especially for women when they become pregnant. They often feel like there's a pregnant woman or a baby in every other house. Why do homebodies exist? Anatomically, the RAS is a bundle of nerve cells and nerve fibers extending from the brainstem, connected to various areas of the brain. However, if this neural network becomes overly active, it can lead to over-arousal or hypersensitivity. That's why introverted people, compared to extroverted ones, have a more active RAS activity and instinctively become homebodies to reduce external stimulation. However, depending on how you use it, this RAS can be either a blessing or a tremendous curse. Depending on what you think about and how you live, even people in the same time and space can see and hear different things, literally living a different worlds. That's why some people find opportunities and others find frustration, even when experiencing the same things. How to make your RAS your ally? First, I want to say this. You should now devote your entire life to making this RAS your ally. It's okay to pour all your energy into it. You can set this RAS yourself. If you don't set it, it will be randomly configured regardless of your will. This means that your RAS will ruthlessly cut out information unrelated to its random settings, and you might be missing out on too many opportunities even today. First, answer these questions. What is a success? What kind of person do I want to be? What experiences do I want to have? What kind of assets do I want to accumulate and how much? Many of you probably cannot answer these questions immediately, or even if you do, they remain as mere desire or hopeless or hopes and don't materialize. Why is this? It's because our RAS is a program from childhood by constantly listening to adults. Act your age. Grow up. Be ashamed of yourself. It's not good for you to do that. Take what you are given. Be content with what you have. Look at the neighbor's kid. Life's not fair. Do you think money grows on trees? Don't be presumptuous. There are striving children in Africa. Without your conscious will, every single line of RAA's programming forcibly installed in your subconscious as a child comprises these very words you just heard. And according to the RAA set with these values, we grew up as a people who simply conform and live ordinary lives. There were clearly things you wanted to do, but those were usually suppressed and then forgotten. That's why I'm telling you that you need to completely unroot your current RAA's programming. Are you living the life your family wants for you? A safe life instead of the life you truly desire? Do you plan to quietly and gently pass through life, choosing a safe and rational path until retirement? Of course, if you are genuinely satisfied with this and it's truly the life you want, then that's fine. Really. But people regret it because it's not what they want. That's just an ordinary life. You've painstakingly put a ladder and climb onto the roof, only to find it's not your roof. The moment you realize you've been leaning your ladder against the wrong wall, you will ponder. Will you take the risk of removing the hard-earned ladder and placing it against a completely different wall again? Or will you simply settle here? At this point, I want to ask you again, are you confident that you won't blame the sunk cost or your past? If your answer is yes, then you are ready to start reprogramming your RAAs right now. Write your goals, visualize, and act. Write down what you want. Don't worry about how you are going to do it right now. Just write down what you want to do in your life in a goal notebook. The author says he wrote down 20 words in his notebook. The types varied: completing a marathon, living on the beach, skydiving, becoming a famous speaker, traveling 50 countries, owning a Mercedes, having his own business, even becoming a millionaire. Just write them down like that. It only takes about 5 to 10 minutes. I mentioned that the RAAs is like a search engine, right? Right now, you are giving the RAAs your search queries, what you want. You are giving direction and task to this neural network that controls your entire life. For now, don't overthink it or make it too serious. Just gather interesting ideas like the author did and list them. And you absolutely must write your goals by hand. Don't type them. You might think, isn't it the same whether I type or write? But it's completely different. This has been scientifically proven multiple times through many experiments since 2010. When we write by hands, it involves up to 10,000 movements, which might seem trivial to us. Through that process, relevant neural circuits are formed in the brain. I even looked up papers on this before. You absolutely must write them by hands. The author gives a truly funny and excellent example, explaining it like this. Typing your goals on a computer keyboard is like reading a description of driving a sports car. Writing your goals by hand is like testing driving a sports car through the Alps yourself. In other words, handwriting significantly boosts emotional immersion in the goal and acts as an instruction to your subconscious mind to continuously build on your effort. The important point here, everyone, is that if you worry about how you will achieve what you want, it actually hinders progress. If you simply decide exactly what you want to do or what you want to become, your RAAs will find a way on its own because that's what the RAAs does. If you keep asking, but how? When your RAAs should be working, you are interfering with its job. A single drop of water in your hand. Now imagine dropping it into the middle of the ocean. And then if you say, I want that one drop of water that was on my palm, the RAAs has the ability to search the entire ocean and find that single drop of water. I'm not just speaking metaphorically. The ability of the RAAs that you and I both possess is truly like this. Let's go back to your goal notebook for a moment. Divide the paper into three sections. In column A, write down the urgent goals you need to achieve and the items most meaningfully to you. In column B, write down items that are important but require some thought before investing time and effort. In column C, the list items that speak your interest and challenge you but feel like mere possibilities at this point. Then rank the items you've written in each column from 1st to 10th. Especially prioritize the items in column A, but don't just rank them. Try to quantify them. If getting a wonderful home is your top priority in column A, quantify when you will get it and what kind of a home it will be. The more precisely you describe it, the size, number of rooms, furniture, even the doorknobs, the more your conscious RAA's drive will skyrocket. Regarding this point, the author says just because a goal isn't within reach doesn't mean it's out of sight. In other words, collect pictures or images that symbolize or depict your goals. It's not hard to collect them these days like it used to be. You can find any image you want in minutes, even seconds, with a smartphone. The more image informations you collect like this, the more other information will start appearing everywhere. Unexpected opportunities and a life without regret. You never know what experience will bring you what result. So even if something seems completely unrelated to your goals, the pictures you've collected and saved on your phone or laptop, or the ones you've put up in plain sight and see every day, there will come a day when you achieve your goals and look back and realize, that's why I ended up doing that back then. This is really true. So don't just sit there feeling overwhelmed from the start. Whether big or small, just write down that goal by hand and read it again and again. Look at it over and over. Then it will naturally become clear whether it's truly important to you. And that's how your real goals will naturally be filtered. Remove the others one by one and only stick the remaining ones on your bedroom wall, dressing table, mirror, refrigerators, every place your eyes fall. If your family or friends think this is strange, you are doing great. If you hear, Mom, what are you doing? Dad, what are you doing? Daughter, what are you doing? Son, what's wrong? Why are you doing something you don't usually do? Then you are succeeding. In the 1970s, an interesting study was conducted on wealthy individuals. It was a very large-scale study that aimed to find the difference between millionaires and billionaires. After 3 years of research, the result came out. Both millionaire and billionaire groups were the same in that they knew exactly what they wanted. However, surprisingly, the most distinct difference between the two groups was the existence of a handwritten list. Now that I've told you this story, can you really not write it down? Everyone, probably the biggest concern for people around the world is how to spend this life they spend as a part of the economically active population. The economically active population mainly refers to young adults aged 15 to 64 years old. According to a Gallup survey conducted in 140 countries in 2012, 67% of the people are not satisfied with their livelihood. They lack enthusiasm, cannot find motivation, and don't even have the desire to put in effort. What's worse, 24% genuinely feel unhappy about their work and consider themselves completely unproductive. Ultimately, the remaining 9% monopolized wealth. At this point, I have one very serious question I want to ask you. Everyone, how much longer will you be too busy working, too busy making a living, to even attempt to think about what you truly want to do, a value more important than money? Find true enjoyment. If you have the opportunity, think about whether there's anything you'd do even if you weren't paid. The author shares the same thoughts as me. He emphasizes that if you find the answer to what you do, even without pay, you've served the most important mission in life. Then you might think, but I like chatting with the people. How can I make that a job? Oprah Winfrey is one such person. But I am not telling you to become a mogul like Oprah Winfrey. The point is, it's truly time to consider doing something you love so much that you'd do it even if it didn't bring you money. The reason I keep saying this is that only by finding work you genuinely enjoy can you live a life where you never work a single day. I mean, the author says this: humans act out of only two motivations: to gain pleasure or avoid pain. How much longer will you live by avoiding pain? Everyone, if you are not satisfied with your current life, it's because your life goals aren't clear enough and your RAs is struggling to figure out what to look for. Start things you can start right away. The only way to get ahead of others is to start. Some things you might try and find you don't like, so you will end them. Others might connect to something else, and some might even expand nationally or even globally. Regret of dying. Bronnie Ware, a hospice nurse, wrote the book The Top 5 Regrets of the Dying, based on her experiences caring for terminally ill patients with less than 12 weeks to live. This is a story I really wanted to share with you today. The top 5 regrets people have before they die are reportedly as follows. First, I wish I'd had the courage to live a life true to myself, not the life others expected of me. They clung to family's ways their whole lives, trapped by habit. They were afraid to stand out and acted like everyone else. The so-called comfort or familiarity covered not only their physical routines, but also their emotions. Due to the fear of change, they pretended to be satisfied and happy to others and to themselves. If they could live again, they would want to live as they please, even if it meant being called eccentric. Second, I wish I hadn't worked so hard. They were so caught up in work that they barely saw their children grow up and neglected their relationships with their spouse. They deeply regretted it. I wish I had the courage to express my feelings. They suppressed their emotions, thinking they had to get along with everyone. They became an ordinary, insignificant presence and didn't even try to become the person they truly wanted to be. Resentment and bitterness accumulated, and that anger led to illness. I wish I'd stayed in touch with my friends. They were too busy living and caught up in daily life, letting precious relationships slip away with time. It pained them deeply that they couldn't make time for friends and didn't put effort into friendships. Facing death, they missed them. Number 5, I wish that I had let myself be happier. Now, facing the end of their lives, they realize that everything they hadn't done was ultimately their one choice. Knowing that life is short makes you reflect on your past life more clearly than ever. How about you? All responsibility lies with me. Everyone, there are said to be two types of people in the world: those who have 10 years of experience in one go, and those who repeat one's year's experience 10 times. The author emphasizes that the person who experiences 10 years in one go achieves more in life, lives longer, and has a much more interesting life. And he delivers a painful truth bomb. Do you know the real culprit behind your current situation and circumstances? Do you want to know where your career, health, and relationships came from? It's simple. Stand in front of a mirror. That's right. It's all my responsibility that my situation is like this. If my situation is good, it's thanks to me. And if it's bad, it's my fault. Not partial responsibility, but full responsibility lies with me. If my life is an outstanding success, the credit is mine. And if it's not, the fault is mine. Of course, humans are not born equal. Our parents, society, culture, religion, and education influence what was input into our RAAs, and the beliefs formed from that brought us here. That's true, but now you know all these principles, don't you? Now that you've figured out how the RAAs works, what's input into it, and the result that follow are now entirely your responsibility. Accept that fact. I was the one who accepted my current job, and I was the one who decided to stay there even though I knew it was far from my passion. I was the one who decided to eat unhealthy food. I shoved it into my mouth with my own hands. I was the one who didn't set boundaries with my friends or family who constantly blamed me and betrayed me. I was the one who didn't exercise regularly. Do I have clients who drive me crazy? Do I have people who treat me like an emotional garbage can or a pushover? They are all monsters I am nurturing. I brought those monsters into my life and didn't kick them out. I chose them. I let them stay. I was the one who made those choices. And I was the one who was absorbed in those thoughts. I am the one responsible. Don't wallow in self-blame. Instead, expert, powerful mental energy. Ask yourself, what can I do with my own hands to get a different result? If you can imagine it, it's possible. Everyone, you and I, we only live once, right? Set any goal you want in life. Regarding this, the author shares these words. Aim for what truly catches your eye. Don't settle for what's merely better among what you see. Everyone, you cannot even imagine your dreams. Then you are not ready to achieve it yet. Our brains only create images of things that are physically or mentally achievable. That's why it's hard to achieve things that you can even imagine in the first place. For example, jumping into the Pacific Ocean and swimming underwater all the way to America is unimaginable, isn't it? But everyone, let's look at this from the exact opposite perspective. In other words, if you can imagine it, it's completely achievable. On this point, the author says life isn't that easy, but your ability to visualize situations will make your dream a reality. The most important first step is to imagine yourself achieving the final result. How you will do it comes later. But people do the opposite. They only ponder the method, get frustrated, and give up on the idea. Everyone, once a clear goal is set, changes will appear in your subconscious RAS. You will suddenly become aware of things you had no interest in before. First, your leaderships will start to change. Names that your RAs would have casually ignored before. Names completely unrelated to you. It will pick out. And that's where the changes in your everyday, always the same routine will begin. That very point is the exact starting point of success. No matter how chaotic and noisy an event venue is, your RAs will meticulously separate the information you need and bring it to you. The goal list you've put up everywhere will help you achieve faster. Become someone for whom success is a hobby. That's how you truly live a fun and exciting life. And this goal must definitely have a deadline, and you must affirm it. I will continue to talk about this in part 2. Today, I will end the video with the author's final words. The real essence of life isn't about arriving safely and neatly at the grave. It's about sliding in sideways, completely exhausted and messed up, screaming, "Wow! What a ride!" with a cloud of dust behind you. Thank you so much.